Mr. Anchia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. This is a very simple amendment. It simply
Mr. Speaker.
provides a
Kane, for what
title.
purpose?
I raise a point of order against further consideration of this amendment under Rule 11, Section 2, on the grounds that the amendment is not germane to the bill.
Bring your point of order down front. The point of order is withdrawn. The amendment is not withdrawn.
Wait, Darwin, come here. No. But what's the point?
Mr. Anchia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a very simple amendment. It provides a title for this bill, I think, that is very appropriate.
I'm not trying to.
The title would be the Darwin Award Act. Now, for you boomers out there, you may not know what the Darwin Award is, but it salutes the improvement of the human genome, honoring those who accidentally remove themselves from this world in a spectacular manner. And ladies and gentlemen, I think that is what this bill is trying to do. I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that it might sound good to you to remove doctors from the process of advising their patients on the use of ivermectin. However, no mainstream medical groups in the United States have recommended that ivermectin be sold over the counter. In fact, leading organizations like the American Medical Association, the American Pharmacists Association, and the American Society of Health Systems Pharmacists have officially opposed the policy that this legislature is seeking to enact. In fact, it notes, a simple search, that the primary push to make ivermectin available without a prescription does not come from any medical group. It comes from state legislators. And why do we require some medications and not others to be prescribed by a doctor?
Yeah.
It pains me to have to explain this to this body. But in Texas, certain medicines require a prescription to protect patients from potentially harmful effects if used without a doctor's supervision. I have no idea,
Mr. Speaker.
members, why we are trying to remove doctors from the relationship with their patients
Mr. Riddell, for what purpose?
to oversee
Will the gentleman yield
the
for
use
questions?
of ivermectin.
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Not at this time.
Not at this time.
I'll wait till you're done.
Thank you. The removal of doctors from this equation and simply allowing pharmacists to do this through rules at the pharmacy board, in my view, makes no sense. Because risks of use of any prescription drug, including ivermectin, have side effects when combined with other drugs. A pharmacist likely will not know that. A doctor will absolutely know that. And you can throw up your hands, Ms. Pink. But that is the absolute truth. A doctor will know what drugs you're taking and know if ivermectin has side effects with that drug. A pharmacist may not. And it is irresponsible of this legislature to simply defer to pharmacists who are, in many ways, no more than pill counters. They count the pills and make sure that the pills you are getting from a prescription are correct. Yes, they administer COVID vaccines by way of example. Yes, they can provide you with general information, but they are not doctors. And I'm wondering why this bill does not call for rules made by the medical board that oversees doctors, but instead is placed over with the pharmaceutical board that oversees pharmacists. And members, I think we are setting a very dangerous precedent. I think removing doctors from the equation, from the ability to prescribe this drug that will have side effects and other interactions with other drugs, is a dangerous precedent. And again, I will reiterate that no medical association recommends selling ivermectin over the counter. Zero, none, nada. Because we're increasing risks to public health by removing doctors, I think the Darwin Award title is aptly placed.
Mr.
Vidal, for what purpose?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
With great pleasure.
The gentleman
Thanks, sir.
yields.
I've got start off with 3 questions. One is, are you saying that your constituents that use ivermectin are idiots?
Did you hear me in my,
Yes.
because I think this is an easy answer. I
I did hear you do that.
Hold on. Did you hear me use the word idiot?
Yeah, you said those who self-deject themselves from society.
I'm sorry. Did you hear me use the word idiot?
Paraphrase, yes.
No, I did not. So the answer to your first question is,
Well, you know you said it.
the answer to your first question is emphatically no.
So you don't think people, your constituents, are idiots for choosing to use ivermectin?
I don't think my constituents are idiots, period.
Okay, well, it sounds like you said that earlier. So next question.
No,
Is-
I think you just simply either misheard it or gratuitously misconstrued that.
Yep, let's go to the next question.
agree.
Is it true that you have advocated for minors to have access to abortion pills without oversight?
Nothing to do with this bill.
But it is, isn't it?
Nope.
So you're against ivermectin, but you're for that, just
Nope.
to be fair.
Nope.
So
That too is a mischaracterization of my statements.
So you're against minors being able to have access to abortion pills.
Members, confine your remarks to the subject matter of the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was confused
All right.
by the line of questioning.
Question withdrawn on that. Next one, is it true you supported hormone blockers for adolescents, but you're against this?
Also, nothing to do with this bill. So if you want to ask me questions about the amendment, happy to answer them.
So you're not willing to answer the questions. Thank you.
I think it's just not a relevant question.
Copy that.
I appreciate you.
Mr. Speaker, will the
Mr.
gentleman yield?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Yes, Congressman Toth.
The gentleman yields.
That's cute.
So are you.
Now that's a misstatement. Okay, are you familiar with the Henry Ford study on therapeutics during the COVID era in 2020?
Did you say Henry Ford?
The Henry Ford Clinic in Dearborn,
The
Michigan.
Henry Ford Clinic? No, I am not.
2,500 people were looked at retrospectively for use of therapeutics
By whom?
by the health system,
But
By
it was
the
by physicians,
by
correct?
physicians in the Henry
By
Ford
doctors.
Clinic. Right.
Yes. Okay.
Correct. And it was a retrospective study, meaning they looked back at people that had used therapeutics, some that were given those therapeutics the day they died, some that were given early on. All in all, there was a 50% reduction in the mortality rate at the end of it. The Henry Ford Clinic then asked the Food and Drug Administration, can we do a full-blown study, double-blind study? Do you know what the FDA said?
No.
That's correct. They said no. They would not let them do a full-blown study.
I'm glad, Mr. Toth, that you agree with me that when you're studying or when you're treating patients, that doctors, not pharmacists, but doctors should be in charge.
Doctors are not in charge, though,
And
Mr.
so
Anchia,
just really
that's the
quickly,
point.
doctors are in charge at the FDA. Doctors are in charge in the double-blind test at the Henry Ford Clinic. Doctors are in charge.
Doctors have been denied, Mr. Anchia. Don't you understand? Doctors have been
doctors-
denied the
I'd like
ability
to finish.
do a double-blind study.
I'd-
You're conflating what I'm saying.
I'd like
You're
to finish-
conflating what the study shows.
Members, please refrain from speaking over each other so that the rest of the body can hear your responses and questions.
Thank you, Mr. Toth. I'd like to finish my answer, if that's okay.
You bet.
Okay. So doctors were in charge of, I think you even said that doctors were in charge of that very study
Gentleman's
related.
time has expired.
Can
Thank
we
you.
have an extension?
Members, you've heard the motion. Is there objection? The chair has none, and the gentleman's time is extended.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Toth, I'll finish my answer. My point in answering your question was that doctors are involved currently in the trials that you were discussing. Doctors are involved on the medical teams at the FDA, and doctors currently in the state of Texas are involved in prescribing ivermectin for human use. That is not the question today, right? Doctors currently in the state of Texas can prescribe this to their patients if they think there's medical efficacy. What this bill does, it says, no, we're going to allow people, we're going to take the doctors out of the equation. We're going to allow people just to go to a pharmacist. Pharmacists are not trained to do this type of work. They do not know what other drugs people are taking, right? They do not know, and they don't know what the side effects are. So that's my point. That's my point, that this is dangerous because you're removing doctors from the equation.
So for clarification from what you just said, so that I understand fully,
Yes.
you're making the statement that pharmacists are not qualified, but doctors are.
Doctors, what my statement, just to be clear, is doctors are far more qualified than pharmacists to dispense ivermectin.
So do you understand that we would not be here today if pharmacists across the state of Texas were filling prescriptions that doctors were making on a regular basis, and they were refusing to fulfill those prescriptions? You don't understand that?
You're going to have to explain that to me
You
again.
may want to talk to Dr. Oliverson about that, and he'll tell you.
You're going to have to
That's one of
explain
the
that.
problems.
So
That scripts were
two
written.
things.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
Scripts were written for people to take ivermectin, and
From?
pharmacists by doctors in Texas locally, and pharmacists refused to fill them. Ask Dr. Oliverson
and
about
why
it. He'll
is
tell
that?
you about that.
And what is the reasoning behind that?
Because they're not qualified. You recently said that. You earlier said
No.
that
I'm
pharmacists
sorry.
are not qualified to make these judgments.
I think, so a doctor who has prescribed ivermectin for their patient, right? A pharmacist is refusing to fill the prescription, and what reasons are they giving?
Because they're ignorant. They don't give prescription. They don't give explanations.
So the
I mean, you recently just said it. You said pharmacists are not qualified.
So they're not qualified to prescribe, certainly.
Correct.
Right. Doctors, what I said, are more qualified than pharmacists to prescribe ivermectin and
Right.
understand what the reactions are to this medicine. So what I didn't understand from your statement is who is ignorant in this case? Is it the pharmacists themselves?
The
Okay.
pharmacists.
So you say pharmacists are ignorant, yet you want them to be able to dispense ivermectin over the counter. I just want to understand what you just said. You said pharmacists are ignorant, yet you want them to dispense this ivermectin. Did I hear that right?
Doctors
Did
are
I-
being foiled by pharmacists. You can't have it both ways.
No.
At one
I'm
point
just
you
trying to
wanna-
repeat
At one
to
point you want
you-
to say that
I'm just trying to repeat to you what I thought I just heard from you. That
Members, please refrain from speaking over each other.
Thank
I
you,
guess
Mr.
you made
Speaker.
the
That
point.
doctors,
you made the point, Mr. Anchia, that pharmacists weren't qualified to be able to dispense this.
I'll
And I-
repeat it again. I'll repeat it again. Pharmacists are less qualified than doctors to do this.
And yet, when doctors prescribe it, pharmacists won't fill it.
And is that every pharmacist across the state? I'm sorry. I
It's been
guess
enough
I
that-
would need some data to verify. Do you have data to suggest that pharmacists across the state on a blanket basis are not filling this prescription?
I would encourage you to talk with Dr. Oliverson and other doctors that have told me that we would not be here today if it wasn't for the fact that pharmacists won't fill prescriptions.
So is it your assertion that zero pharmacists in this state are filling prescriptions
Of
for
course, we're not saying.
ivermectin.
Of course, we're not saying zero over the fact
What
that
percentage then, I would ask you, because anecdote is nice, but what percentage of pharmacists are not filling prescriptions for ivermectin?
we wouldn't be here today if this was if they were being readily filled. But let's move on to the next
No,
question.
no, no. I mean, I think that's irrelevant. Before you make that statement, what data are you relying on other than maybe an anecdotal conversation?
Mr. Ritchie, if it's more than one, it's too many because people are being denied the ability to receive treatment.
Okay, is it more than one?
Of course, it's more than one.
Is it more than 10?
Of course, it is.
Is it more than 100?
Mr. Anchia, I actually called multiple pharmacists in my area for people that were looking to get hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin that was prescribed by a doctor, and I could not find anyone in the Woodlands to fill a prescription.
How many did you call?
Maybe a dozen.
Okay, okay.
One more question, Mr. Anchia.
Sure.
Are you familiar with Dr. Mary Bowden?
No,
She's treated over 6,000 people with ivermectin.
but she's a doctor.
She is a doctor. But
That's what I'm saying.
But the Texas
You're making my point.
The Texas Medical Board has been
making my point.
You
If
are
she's
making
a
my
doctor,
point, but the
if
Texas
she's a
Medical
doctor,
Board-
I'm saying keep it in the doctors.
Members,
But the
the
Texas
member
Medical
at the back mic may ask questions. The member at the front mic may answer the question.
But the Texas Medical Board has been trying to put her out of business, has been trying to take her license away. Do you think that's right?
That's the Texas Medical Board. I have no idea what their reason is, why they're trying to take her license away.
She's treated over 6,000 people with
And
ivermectin.
she's a doctor.
She is a doctor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker,
For what purpose?
does the gentleman yield for questions?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
With great pleasure.
The
Thank
gentleman
you so
yields.
much. Would you, have you looked at the co-author list on this bill, sir?
No.
Did you know that a doctor, actually a neurosurgeon, co-authored this bill?
And I don't understand the point.
Well, the point is you're asking for your basis about doctors, and I'm telling you a veterinarian, an anesthesiologist, and a brain surgeon on the House floor co-authored this bill.
And so did a salon owner. But I'm not trying to understand your point.
Well, you're barking about doctors know best. They co-authored the bill, sir.
What I'm pointing out, and I'll repeat it for you since you missed it. No major mainstream medical group have recommended that ivermectin be sold over the counter. In fact, leading organizations like the American Medical Association, the American Pharmacists Organization, and the American Society of Health System Pharmacists have all opposed it. So whether a salon owner or a doctor on this House floor is a co-author is immaterial to that observation.
So do you have constituents in your area that cannot afford to go to a doctor?
I imagine, yes, I do, certainly.
And so are you denying them the right to go to the pharmacy directly and get care for themselves that they feel will help them?
No, in fact, what I do is fight for expanded health care so that they can go. Stuff that you vote against. Stuff that you vote against.
So
you deny my constituents that. So don't be coming at me saying that my constituents can't do
Members,
it.
no, all I'm hearing is an individual knows what's right for them, and they want to decide what medicine they take, and you're denying them that.
I appreciate that non-question.
Ms. Jones, for what purpose?
Will the gentleman yield?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Yes.
The gentleman yields.
Isn't it true that in Texas only licensed doctors and in limited cases nurse practitioners and physician's assistants can actually write a prescription?
That is correct.
Isn't it true that the role of pharmacists is to fill prescriptions, not to write them?
Can you repeat your question?
Isn't it true that the role of pharmacists is to fill prescriptions, not to write them?
Oh, absolutely.
So if this bill allows people to walk into a pharmacy and demand ivermectin without a doctor's prescription, then what we're really doing is letting pharmacists act like doctors?
We're allowing people to go around doctors in this case for ivermectin, and no medical group suggests that that is the right course of action.
But isn't it also true that pharmacists are not allowed to diagnose illness and prescribe medication.
Yes.
And isn't the whole point of medical school is that doctors spend years training to evaluate patients and determine what medication is safe and effective?
Doctors are trained for this. Doctors prepare for this, especially family physicians, PCPs. They understand what drugs you are taking, and they understand the interaction of those drugs with ivermectin, and they should be the people making the prescriptions.
So how is it safe or responsible to turn a pharmacist's counter into a doctor's office without the proper training, without patient history, and without the
Gentleman's
medical
time has
examination?
expired.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Dr. Oliverson in opposition to the amendment. Members, please confine your remarks to the content of the amendment before the body.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, you know, I have a lot of respect for my colleague, Representative Anchia. However, I am somewhat offended by this amendment and the content of it. But mainly, I wanted to speak against it just so that I could clear up some things that were said. The whole reason why this bill is an issue, why it is before this body, is because it is a known fact that across this state, prescriptions for ivermectin, specifically written validly by a licensed physician in this state, that a pharmacist has unilaterally decided to take it upon themselves to practice medicine and not fill that prescription. And so that's how we got to where we are. I will tell you that this drug has a very good safety record and a very good safety profile. There are other medications that are available over the counter, such as famotidine and pantoprazole, which have far more drug-drug interactions and side effects than this does. And I believe we are doing no harm today by passing this legislation, and we are addressing a wrong which has been perpetrated against the medical community, which is the unwillingness to follow a doctor's advice and a doctor's treatment plan with regards to a prescription that is being prescribed for a valid, albeit off-label use to treat a medical condition for which there is evidence to show treatment is beneficial.
Mr. Frank, for what purpose?
Does the gentleman yield?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
I yield for questions.
Gentleman yields.
Thank you. Dr. Oliverson, I appreciate you being up here today. So, is ivermectin a FDA-approved drug?
Yes.
Is it legal for doctors such as yourself or others to write what is called off-label? So you have an FDA-approved drug that is safe and legal to use for certain things. Are doctors able to write a prescription, and always have been able to, or for as long as I know, to write that for other things that are not on label? So you have that authority, right?
100%.
Okay, so that has always been that authority, and the problem that has happened with the pharmacists that our colleague says is trained significantly less than doctors. So my understanding is what happened is you had doctors that were taking care of patients that wrote a legal off-label prescription, and the pharmacists decided not to fulfill that. Is that what you see happening?
Unfortunately, that happens every dang day.
So the doctor
in this
and
state.
the patient both want it. The doctor that our colleague, Representative Anchia, says is so smart, the doctor wrote it, but the pharmacist decided, even though it was legal by the FDA and it was legal, is that what happened?
That is, and I want to add to that and amplify that and just point out that the entire reason why that is the case has nothing to do with the science.
Right.
It's about the politics of the medicine, which should never be a part of practicing medicine, but unfortunately, here we are.
Well, let's talk about the science, and I think you are right. This has been used for 50 years all around. I mean, it's been used all around the world, so the safety is without question. But let me ask you this: for people that are against this, the pharmacist groups, how much? I just happened to get COVID and took Paxlovid. Do you know what the cash price at Walmart? The cash price at Walmart for Paxlovid is?
I do not.
$1,700. I thought it was a typo. So if I'm a pharmacist industry, would I rather sell Paxlovid at $1,700, or would I rather sell something else?
I mean, I think you got mouths to feed, you got a business to run. I don't want to impute that all those decisions are financial decisions, but I think it makes financial sense to do what keeps the lights on.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Representative.
Mr. Speaker,
For what purpose?
will the gentleman yield for a question?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
I would gladly yield to my colleague from Harris County.
Thank you,
gentleman
Dr. Oliverson. Thank you. So it's been asserted multiple times during this exchange, during this debate, that that pharmacists purportedly are refusing to fulfill the prescription.
Yeah, I think there's ample evidence to say that that's factual.
Is that the subject of this bill, sir, about requiring
The
pharmacists
subject
to
of this
fulfill the
bill is to
prescription?
make this particular medication, which is a medication with a good safety track record and very low side effects or adverse reactions, available over the counter, just as we have with other medications that have far more drug-drug interactions like ranitidine, famotidine, pantoprazole, and the like.
Thank you for your detailed answer. Also, does any of that have anything to do with the subject of this amendment?
Well, it has to, from the standpoint of, as I was not prepared to speak in opposition to this amendment until I heard the author's explanation for why he felt the amendment was necessary, and I realized that, quite frankly, his assertions were incorrect based on my own personal experience as a physician, and I felt like I needed to set the record straight.
So once again, what is the subject of the amendment? Isn't it just to rename that bill?
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
I think to call it the Darwin Award bill or something stupid like that.
Speaker,
Mr. Wu, for what purpose?
would the gentleman yield for
Will the
questions?
gentleman yield for questions?
I will yield to my other colleague from Harris County.
The
Sure.
gentleman yields.
Thank you. Dr. Robertson, ivermectin is a anti-parasitic medicine, correct?
That is what it is currently FDA approved for.
And it is a medicine that works by disrupting the nervous system of lower level invertebrates, mainly worms, correct?
That is the belief, the current understanding of its mechanism of action, yes.
The medicine is...
The members will confine the remarks to the amendment. The chair would remind the members that the amendment is solely limited to the name of this act.
To get to the determination of whether the name is correct, I have to ask questions. Thank you. The medicine, as you just discussed, is FDA approved for prescription dispensing, correct?
Correct.
It is not approved for over-the-counter usage, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. This bill itself is to bypass that and make it over-the-counter.
Yes.
Okay. Earlier you said that we want to be able to use it for off-label uses. Are you aware, other than anti-parasitic treatments, are you aware of any verified off-label use that has been affirmed by any kind of peer-reviewed study?
I think there is literature out there supporting its use for COVID. Whether you would consider that to be peer-reviewed of the highest quality, I don't know exactly if there's a randomized, controlled, double-blinded, study on that or not. But I believe that there is a great number of physicians in this country that believe it's highly efficacious for that purpose.
Because I would counter to the reports that I've seen that said ivermectin had basically no use in treating COVID-19 because it's an anti-parasitic, not an antiviral.
Yeah, I don't think we fully understand the benefits of this particular medication. And it's not unheard of that you develop a medication for a specific purpose only to find out later that it also has benefits for other purposes. That happens all the time.
But before we take what is a controlled substance of some kind.
This is not a controlled substance.
I get it, but a substance that is controlled, that's usage is controlled for safety reasons. Fair? That right now it's a prescription-only medication.
A prescription-only medication,
Okay.
yes, sir.
And until we figure out the benefits, wouldn't the wiser course of action to be to not let people use it over the counter until we know both what the benefits and the dangers are?
I think the belief is that we have reached that point, but for political reasons, we haven't pulled the trigger on that.
Well, if you say
Representative.
we've reached that point, tell me the benefits, because all the research that I've looked over, all the white papers and journal reports and summaries of journals say that there is zero evidence to suggest that that ivermectin has any effect on viral issues other than statistical anomalies.
I think I would quibble with your assertion that there is zero evidence. I believe there is evidence that shows that it reduces morbidity and
The gentleman's
mortality.
time has expired.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to table.
Wait.
All right, recognize me to speak against. All right, I'm speaking against.
All right, back up, members. The chair recognizes Ms. Schaffner to speak against the amendment.
Though I appreciate my desk neighbor, I vehemently oppose this amendment. Not today, Satan. I move to table.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Anchia, for what
will the
purpose?
gentlelady
Will
yield
the
for
lady
questions?
yield for questions? She has no. The lady has already moved to table. The chair recognizes Mr. Anchia to close.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I really lament the fact that the movement did not want to take questions, because it'd be very clear at this point how irresponsible this bill is. Because what came out in our very erudite dialogue was that this is not the least best solution to solve the problem. Because what we heard was, and I'll take Representative Toth at his word, was that there are some, and he couldn't tell us how many, some pharmacists who were not filling the prescription. Well, what is the proper policy response to that? To say pharmacists shall fill prescriptions. And that can be done today, without this legislation, at the pharmacy board. Doesn't require this bananas bill, this crackpot piece of legislation, and the name that I'm putting on it is worthy of its subject matter. Because if this was really about pharmacists not filling prescriptions for ivermectin, as has been alleged, then the bill would say something like, you shall fill prescriptions. But we're taking it a step farther. We're saying, no, we want it to be over the counter. And while Dr. Oliverson says it's political, he's absolutely right. But this solution is political. This body is being political with science. This body is being political with medicine. So he's absolutely right, but for the wrong reasons. Because the least best solution would be when doctors duly prescribe ivermectin, pharmacists shall fill the prescription. Problem solved. And I will reiterate, and the reason I've chosen this illustrious title for this act, named after Charles Darwin, is that, again, no major mainstream medical group has recommended that ivermectin be sold over the counter. And I don't care if you're a salon owner or an anesthesiologist or a brain surgeon. We are putting our judgment in front of boards and association of people who have been training their entire lives on this very subject. And we think somehow that we know better than them. And that, to use a parlance from medicine, is malpractice. That is legislative malpractice. So members, I ask that you please support this well thought out, straightforward, short and to the point amendment, because what we're doing is irresponsible. And you may think you're owning the libs, but you're hurting Texans. And people will suffer adverse consequences from passage of this bill.
Mr.
So with
Speaker?
that, members, I urge you to vote against the motion to table.
Ms. Garcia Hernandez, for what purpose?
Yes. Does the gentleman yield for questions?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Yes.
The gentleman yields.
Representative Anchia, are you aware that, in fact, individuals can go to the feed store and get ivermectin?
Did you say feed, F-E-E-D? Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Speaker.
Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Money, for what purpose?
Will the gentleman yield for questions about his amendment?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Yes.
The gentleman yields.
The Darwin Awards, something I'm very familiar with. I'm not a boomer, like you talked about. It's people who self-select themselves out of the gene pool.
Correct.
I think you said.
Well,
do you
I'll
know?
say it specifically. The Darwin Awards salute the improvement of the human genome by honoring those who accidentally remove themselves from it, and this is the important part, in a spectacular manner.
Beautiful. Okay. You're data driven. You got on to Mr. Toth earlier for not having data. How many of the billions of doses of ivermectin, how many people have removed themselves from the gene pool by taking ivermectin?
I will tell you that the Mayo Clinic, which I think is a respected organization, has warned that before using ivermectin, a doctor should be in control and decisions should be made with their patients, because there are a number of different factors in using.
So you don't, you're not answering my question, Mr. Anchia.
Hold on. I'd like to finish my answer. Is that okay?
I will let you finish your answer.
Thank you.
Is it my question?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. So before using ivermectin, and this is really important, the risks, and this is according to the Mayo Clinic, the risks of taking the medicine must be weighed against the good it will do. This is a decision, this is their advice, you and your doctor will make, and here are the variables that they identify. Whether you have allergies to the medicine or to other things like food dyes, preservatives, etc. Whether it's a pediatric situation, whether it's a geriatric situation, whether a woman is breastfeeding or is pregnant, and importantly, other drug interactions. Because although certain medicines should not be used together at all, two different medicines may be used together if an interaction might occur. Okay? In these cases, the doctor, this is important, the doctor may want to either change the dosage or take other precautions in prescriptions as necessary. Okay? That is the answer.
So you don't have any data saying that people have removed themselves from the gene pool in spectacular fashion by taking ivermectin?
Well,
Has
no,
anyone? Do you have
that's
any-
not true. That's not
do
true.
you- do
That's
you
not
ha-
true.
Let me ask. Let me ask my question.
I believe.
I made a statement, and you're arguing.
Well, no. I think you made a statement, right?
I made a statement. Now I have a question.
Okay. So I disagree with your
question.
statement.
Okay. Do you have any data of people who have been sterilized and not able to reproduce based on taking ivermectin?
I never made that assertion. Never claimed that people have been sterilized. Have no idea how that's relevant to my commentary.
Because the Darwin Awards is for people who have been sterilized or kill themselves. They remove themselves from the gene pool. I'm very familiar with the Darwin Awards.
I didn't refer to sterilization at any point during my comments. Not sure how it's relevant.
Okay. In the definition of the Darwin Awards. Okay, so do you
Nor did I say that in the definition of the Darwin Awards.
Do you have any data of how many people died? How else can you remove yourself from the gene pool?
I do have data. There are a number of people who took ivermectin outside of a doctor's prescription that have died. Dozens.
Okay.
Dozens.
Out
when
of
they
billions
overdosed,
of dosage.
When they overdosed on ivermectin, whether it was used for animals or otherwise, outside of a doctor's prescription, there have been deaths.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes, there have been deaths when you remove the doctor from the equation, which is what this bill does.
But you don't have data. You have some anecdotal dozens.
It's widespread.
Out of
It's
billions.
reporting. It's reporting. You can read it. You can do a simple Google search.
I'm just holding you to the same standard that you held Mr. Toth to, and I thank you for your time.
I thank you for your time.
Mr. Speaker,
Ms. Weiner, for what purpose?
will the gentleman yield for some
Will
questions?
the gentleman yield for questions?
With pleasure.
The gentleman yields.
Representative Anchia, have you heard of a gentleman by the name of Caleb Wallace?
I can't say that I have.
Caleb Wallace lived in Abilene, Texas, and he was anti many of our government actions regarding COVID. Unfortunately, when he came down with COVID in the summer of 2021, he tried to treat his COVID with vitamin C, zinc, aspirin, and ivermectin. Would it surprise you to know that he died at age 30 of COVID with that treatment regimen?
It's incredibly sad, and you've given me an idea to Mr. Speaker, will you allow me to do an amendment to this amendment to name this act after this person who passed away? Because I appreciate you shouting him out today, R.I.P. It's always sad when that happens, and I fear it's going to happen
Gentleman's
more.
time has expired. Mr. Anchia sends up an amendment. Ms. Schaffner moves to table. The question is on the motion to table. If you're in favor of the amendment, vote no on the motion to table. If you're opposed to the amendment, vote yes on the motion to table. A record vote has been requested. The clerk will ring the bell. Members, I will give you time to get to your desks. Show Ms. Schaffner voting aye. Show Ms. Collier voting nay. Have all voted? Have all voted? There being 86 ayes, 51 nays, the motion to table prevails. Following amendment, the clerk will read the amendment.